I'm going to wrap up right quick, man, on one thing that I spoke about the last time I was on about this arena situation.
Okay.
And I was remiss by not mentioning that I'm working on a We the Fans Internet Media Network documentary called Sonic's Bait. Because I'm seeing you guys the same types of so-called public-private partnership lures we saw with the Seahawks Stadium and Safeco Field. I mean, how many times was the public told by the private that the outdoor football stadium was going to be natural grass? Over and over and over. And in fact, it was cemented with the statement, it's got to be grass because we're going to play soccer, and soccer has to be, played on natural grass. Next thing we know, well, what had happened is it's field turf, right? And how many times did we hear the Mariners say that they would pay the cost overruns on Safeco Field? Man, like repeatedly. But when the cost overruns ran to $100 million, they balked. And with what I know about the legal and binding documents and the city ordinances that are inexplicably tied to them, I can say without reservation that Sonic fans are being baited with green and gold smoke. And in my estimation, there is no more wordplay evidence than SonicsArena.com releasing a very impressive and highly informative 73-page presentation last week with the official title, Seattle Arena. And most likely, that's due to the legal confines and constrictions of what I was talking about, these documents. Despite them jumping the gun and, with the name of the website, Sonic's Arena, the official name of the presentation, which was slick, is Seattle Arena. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The arena in Soto comes down to the Seattle Sonics versus Seattle NBA. And let me be even more emphatic, because the city of Seattle has a $30 million incentive to have the arena in Soto per the MOU dated July 2nd, 2008. And that cash would be coming from one Clayton Bennett himself, according to paragraph 4, which makes paragraph 6, the one I've been talking about over and over with the history and the legacy, that type of thing, make all the more sense in the world. Because, and I'll end it with this, I'm not unlike anyone else in sports. I don't say things to try to be wrong. I mean, when I was the Week 9 game time prognosticator, contrary to my 7-7 record game timers, I was trying to pick games right, but on this arena thing, I never wanted to be more wrong in my life. That I can assure you.
And I hope you are. As do basketball fans, and obviously it's been quiet on that front because there are a lot of lawyers that are looking things through and through, reading between the lines, trying to find loopholes or trying to get around loopholes, if you will, depending on what side that they're on, just as you talk about. I think you're waiting for the next domino to fall. We obviously know what that is, and that is, of course, with the Sacramento Kings and what they're going to do with their situation. They've got to figure out that situation. Once that, of course, is either resolved or it sways a certain way, then I think we'll start to see some of the things moving. But I think that right now you have a lot of CYA going on, and your points are valid, especially when you talk about watching out for what happened in the past and how it's been duped. But let's be honest, there's this memorandum of understanding. Even though you bring up, of course, some great points to watch out for as far as what we were duped with before. But this is a lot different, and it is a different time and a different era than when these were. This is a whole almost 20 years later now, and here we are talking about initiatives and whatnot that had to get around that were passed. So you couldn't even build an arena in the city anymore, and they found ways around that. So I'm still looking at the glasses half full with the green and gold juice, if you will. And I'm still the juice. I'm still sipping from the cup, and we'll definitely see. I just hope that gold isn't, you know what I mean. But I'm tired of getting on, and you know what I mean. So it's going to be interesting. I think that even though, thank you. Even though I said, and I said this with green and gold glasses. promises and hoping, and who knows, things might change here in the next 2.5 weeks. By Christmas, we would have some type of understanding. I think that we're more or less looking after the first of the year. That really start to get rolling because, well, as you talked about, look, that deadline date, 5 years that you talked about, like you said, July 2nd, 2013 is coming up.
And the reason that I'm saying what I just said is that when this presentation came out last week, I reviewed the MOU from 4.5 years ago, if you will, and paragraph 4 has 3 things that if they happen, then the city of Seattle doesn't get the additional $30 million. If you remember, they got a $45 million down payment, and then there were 3 other conditions for the $30 million. One of them, or I should say the first one, was if the legislature of January 2009 acts and makes a move in towards putting some money towards the renovation of Key Arena. That didn't happen. So the second was if Howard Schultz's, or should I say Howard Dutch Schultz, fake lawsuit was successful and forced the team to stay. That didn't happen. The third is, and is still in play, if an owner decides to bring a team back to Seattle and plays in a renovated Key Arena, then the city doesn't get that $30 million. And that's your $30 million incentive that the city of Seattle has for ensuring that the NBA does not come back to Key Arena, Seattle Center. And then when you jump over to paragraph 6, that then says, unless an NBA team playing in Seattle plays in a renovated Key Arena, it cannot be called the Seattle Supersonics. So I understand what you're saying. You make some excellent points as always, JB, in terms of the behind the scenes and lawyers and the CYA and that type of thing. Well, I'm one of the guys behind the scenes looking at the exact same documents that these attorneys are. And when you add it all up, those are the incentives. It's going to probably almost be a tit for tat deal. You're going to get that $30 million, but we're going to retain the Seattle Supersonics name. And you know, heck, this year they were putting this past year they put out 1967 Oklahoma Thunder.
I know.
Okay, then. So that becomes that's the long game for Clayton Bennett. And again, when you read that MOU, it's surprising. It's so slanted towards the Professional Basketball Club, LLC, and it's just shocking that it got by the city attorney at that time. Because if you go to, you'll see a link on Seattle Sonics, MIA.com. It's called Sonics Bait, and I've got a number of trailers on there already. And the one most recent that I put up that has a sound clip from Chris Hansen saying that this situation is just like the Baltimore Ravens, or I should say the Cleveland Browns situation. And there's also a clip of me on there talking about how it's not. And then there's a guy a little bit later in the video where you have a guy that's from Cleveland that's saying, you know, that was part of the settlement. Art Modell did not leave everything there in Cleveland for the Browns to come back. He was contractually obligated to do that. And so that's how these things roll. And that's why, you know, as sports fans, Seattle fans, Sonic fans, I mean, this is things that, you know, as you said a little while ago, that deadline's coming up. And these are issues that the green and gold smoke is just really covering up. And when it clears, we're all going to be holding bags that aren't going to say the Sonics on it.
What's your, it's interesting, and encourage the game timers to go there and check it out. What's your gut feeling on how this is all going to turn out?
I just gave it to you.
That's your gut? Is that your gut, or is that what you're looking at?
I can't see it any other way because, again, when we talk about these public-private partnership situations, as us being part of the public, I would rather these types of things be put on the table right away. I would, you know, hope that a guy like Chris Hansen is, you know, locked into it enough, and he's proven that he is, to be able to have a handle on every single one of the issues that he has to address as a prospective builder of the arena, along with owner of an NBA team. And for him to just, if you listen to him in this clip that I have at Seattle Sonics MIA.com, you will hear how nonchalant he is when the interviewer asked him about this particular matter. And so,
well, here's my question.
Yes.
I don't mean to cut you off, or but my question is, what is it worth to Clay Bennett, other than not paying that $30 million, to keep the Sonics, to keep their history, to keep the Seattle Supersonics? I don't understand what it's worth to that franchise there that's now the Thunder.
Yeah, that you and me agree on the same thing. As I said, the one thing that it can be is the merchandising. The other thing, I guess, is the legacy of being tied into trying to get guys, and they've tried this already. Try to get Gary Payton down there. Try to get Shawn Kemp coming down there. I mean, those types of things. So, it's just like in any other dealing. You throw as much stuff up on the wall and to see what you can get to stick, and that's what this MOU to me represents. So when you talk about my gut feeling, this is why exactly why I'm raising these issues constantly on this station and others, along with videos that I've been putting on YouTube, the website, and everything, because it sounds like everything is on the up and up when they use Seattle Sonics and NBA interchangeably, but they are not the same thing.
I'll tell you this, and we could always call Jesse Jones in the end, right? I mean, the investigator, right? I mean, I'm being facetious, but KB, make your last point.
No, I didn't have any points really to make. I mean, I understand exactly what Commando Dave is telling us or warning us about, and most of us here, we are NBA fans, but I think more of us in this town are Sonic fans. And if the NBA comes back, that's great, but I think that people are expecting and are wanting the Sonic.
Yeah, it'll be bittersweet if it's anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think that the generation that didn't experience the Sonics, they could care less.
Yeah, they could care less.
That's the point, right?
But you know what? They're not going to be the ones, of course, spending money on season tickets just as of yet. So I mean, it's that fresh, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all comes out. I think it's interesting that the Thunder continue to, of course, dangle the carrot, if you will, or throw the piece of raw meat, or basically just smear it in our face, however you want to look at it, to Sonic fans with some of the ridiculousness that they put out there. But I think you make some valid points, some things to really keep an eye on and follow here in the weeks and months to come, and it's going to be interesting to see how this thing does play out.